The Week in Bible Prophecy, a Prophecy Watchers podcast.
Welcome to the podcast today, everyone. Mondo Gonzalez here in studio with our good friend Billy. Welcome.
Mondo, thanks for having me, man. It's great to be back.
And before we talk about Billy's new project, Trump and the Stargate Prophecies, just hold on to your hats here because and hold on to your sanity for a moment because we're going to be talking about, as we should as Christians, the good and the bad of what's happening in the Trump administration. And there's a lot of good for sure. But there's some interesting things behind the scenes, which we're gonna talk about here. But before we do, I want to talk about our upcoming conference in Norman, Oklahoma, October 9th through 12th. We are going to have 24 speakers, 48 messages. It's going to be a phenomenal time, a fellowship. I think there's going to be at least 1,000 people there. It'll be great. But if you can't join us in person, then consider joining us through live stream. And so you can find that information at prophecywatchers.com. Just scroll down, you'll see the live stream banner. The other thing that we're inviting people to join us on is our trip to Israel and Jordan. That's going to be in May of 2026. And so if you want to see the itinerary, it's going to be a great time. Israel actually is a great place to be right now. You wouldn't think about it, but we're not going to Gaza. Okay, we're not going to Syria, so we're not doing any of that. But you can go to visitisraeltoday.com. Visitisraeltoday.com. That'll take you directly there, and you can see, again, all the itinerary and other fun things we're going to be do. It's going to be a great time. If you haven't gone to Israel, again, we try to approach it, at least I do from my background in archaeology, to see what's real. What are these real sites rather than just some of the traditional sites? And so, again, visit israeltoday.com. So, Billy, here we are, and your new project, Trump and the Stargate Prophecies. And let's talk about some things here. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, where it seems to be that, and we've seen this as pastors as well, that Christians tend to have their favorites or they have their ideas or different things, and we tend to think sometimes maybe too politically. Mm-hmm. But I've experienced this as well. Why is it that just in your title here, Trump and the Stargate Prophecies, what's wrong with you, Billy? Now I'm going to speak from the what I hear. Don't you know that Trump is the antichrist, or don't you know that Trump basically God is using him as the Cyrus and the savior of America? Yeah, those are two extremes. So talk about the trouble here, and the balance that we should have.
Well, the balance is we're truth tellers as Christians, and so if we told the truth in the previous administration, and certainly things that had to deal with the Bible, Bible prophecy related topics, as watchmen on the wall, then why can't we talk about it in this administration? And that's one of the first things that I noticed as soon as Trump got in. All of a sudden, you had this element of the Christian camp that said, you guys, you just voted for the Antichrist. How could you say anything positive about this guy? You're anti.
You're duped. You're deceived.
You're just whatever. And I'm going, no, I'm not saying Trump is innocent. And I didn't want Kamala. I knew what I was getting with that.
Yeah.
Am I saying that Trump couldn't do anything or he's perfect? Of course not. But I looked at it from even an economic perspective from my walk with Christ. If I'm still alive and still here, which scenario is easier for me to have the freedom and the time and to share the gospel of Jesus Christ and goods
without being censored, et cetera, right?
Et cetera. Yep. And dare I say, even economically, it's a lot easier. I'll share the gospel whenever, but it's a lot easier when you have a better economy than a purposely destroyed economy, right? So that's me, why I made the decisions I made. But that doesn't give Trump a free pass. Okay, so that's the one extreme. You talk about anything good about Trump, man, you voted for the Antichrist, you're duped. And then the hatred that's coming from that
by
camp.
Believers, yeah.
Oh, they professing believers. I don't know. Maybe you are. I don't know. But man, exactly. You're like, well, and then they cut you off. And when we're supposed to work together in these last days to share the gospel, anyway. So, but then the other alarming thing, at the same time, as soon as he got into office, you saw this too, Mondo. Mm-hmm. It was everybody went, boy, with the pandemic and the Biden administration and the threat of Kamala coming in. Man, that was a crazy 4 years. I'm glad that's over. Listen, now Trump's back. It's easy sailing. We got a 4-year vacation. And they started to act like it.
Yeah.
And so here's my point. So then when you start talking about some things that you need to talk about, hey, but I'm glad Trump's doing some things on the economy. That's great. I'm glad that he's dealing with the border crisis. That's great. I'm glad that he's grabbing control of some more of these geopolitical issues. That's great. But hey, there's some things that he's doing that has everything to do with Bible prophecy, whether he realizes it or not.
Yeah.
You can't talk about it. These people are like, don't
play plunders.
right?
They don't want to hear
so
it.
I'm going like, what is going on here? And then what I begin to notice is the things that are happening in Bible prophecy, because by the way, it didn't stop just because Trump got into office, right? And we are not on a vacation, people. Hello. But it's actually happening what I call on steroids. It's in turbo mode because this crowd shuts you off with such vitriol and say you're with the Antichrist. And then this crowd doesn't even want to hear it. So guess what? Free pass.
Yep.
Nobody's talking about it. At least with the Biden administration, we were blowing the whistle on the border. We were blowing the whistle on CBDC and the cashless society because these are all biblical
And the
related
immorality,
topics.
the promotion of immorality.
Exactly.
We know.
And guess what? That had a positive effect in that at least it was, watch this, 2 Thessalonians 2. It was restraining it.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're called to do. 2 Thessalonians 2, we're the restraining influence. Katekon in the Greek, it means to withhold the course thereof. And that's what we're called to do of God. We're to restrain against the rise of the Antichrist kingdom. Till when? Till we rise from the midst, the rapture, and then he makes his appearance, the Antichrist. So that's what we're supposed to do. So how can you say you're doing that when you're sitting there with this mentality? Yep, got 4 years of coasting, just going to take a vacation. But here's my point. Because we're not restraining anymore, like we did with the previous administration, these things, Mondo, I'm telling you, are happening so fast. It's crazy. And it's very alarming to me.
Yeah. I mean, if we look back at, let's go back 30 years, whatever, and just thinking about as we are getting to the end of the age, it didn't matter whether it was, in Clinton or Bush or Obama. The prophetic time frame is moving forward no matter who is in. And this is where, again, even in my, all the work that I did on the screw tape letters. I mean, I lived in this world where under the guise of a demonic strategy, I'll say it that way, where screw tape representing the evil side would say, Wormwood would ask a question. Well, hey, how should I approach, this? And he said, what's wrong with you? We don't care about truth. If the patient wants to be a pacifist, we're going to use that. If he wants to be a patriot, we're going to use that. Come on. And so here you again have the strategy that Satan will say, oh, well, we have Obama or Biden or Kamala. We can use that to our own ends. But we got Trump. We're going to use that too. And so this is where, as a Christian, spiritually minded, we know that the enemy is going to use each person and their strengths and their weaknesses against them and to promote. And so even there, let's jump in for a minute because the title again is Trump and the Stargate Prophecies. So you have their first day. He brings 3 figures up, which we'll talk about, and he on his day of his inauguration, and he introduces this phraseology of Stargate, and you call it the Stargate prophecy. So first of all, in case somebody doesn't know anything, what really is the significance, and what is Stargate? What is the background? What does it even mean?
Yeah.
What was the details of what Trump was announcing that day?
Yeah, first day in office, again, part of Trump's agenda to make America great again. He launched the Stargate AI program. Stargate, the futuristic kind of label that's put upon it. And then he introduced 3 entities, technology guys to
Technocrats, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Technocrats is a great term to put it. To run this system, and it was a $500 billion investment. That's $500 billion to speed up the process, the development of AI, hence the Stargate AI system. And the 3 guys that he picked to run it, Larry Ellison, the head guy of Oracle, which is a software development company, Sam Altman, OpenAI, AI development, kind of a competitor to Musk and things of that nature. And then you have Masayoshi Son. He's a Korean guy living in Japan. He's kind of like a financier with a lot of technology and biotechnology. company. So he's like the financier of the project. But you look at these three guys, and knowing for years, I've taught for a long time on AI. And my first deep dive on AI was probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. Ahead of the curve before people started catching on. I'm not saying that to boast. It's just
that's where it got ahead. Yeah,
exactly. So AI's been around for a while. People are familiar with AI, but they don't realize the biblical ramifications of AI. And that I'm convinced that AI is one of the signs that we're in the last days. Daniel chapter 12, there will be an increase of knowledge, Rabbah, a multiplication factor. That's AI. That's what happens when you multiply. And it leads to a danger called singularity, where this information spawns a super intelligence that improves on itself, and then that self improves on that self, and it spirals out of control. God calls it end of times. Seculars say singularity. Basically, it takes over. Revelation 13 also implies what I believe firmly is an AI global control scenario, because it says there the antichrist is going to be controlling the planet, micromanaging it, not only with a big brother society known where people are at any and all times in order to take them out, knowing whether or not they obey or not. That's big brother. And they're going to micromanage every single transaction, the buying and selling of the planet. We've got the computers, we've got the satellites, we've got the machinery, we've got the hardware for all that, but you can't hire enough humans for that global system. You need something superhuman, i.e. AI. So AI has everything to do, I'm convinced, Old Testament, New Testament, with signs that were in the last days, signs that were approaching the Antichrist kingdom in the 7-year tribulation. This Stargate launch is putting it on steroids. And the first thing that I don't think people realize, Mondo, is this isn't even just for America to catch up to the other world leaders in AI, which I think is probably, if I were to guess, one of Trump's primary motives, because the previous administration was purposely leaving us behind in AI because they wanted, that camp wanted China to be the world leader, who boasted by 2030, there's that date again, that they're going to be the world leader. And then Putin said on tape that whoever controls AI controls the world. So they know the power of it. But here's my point. The Stargate program that Trump launched with these three technocrats, it's global. They're building data centers around the world. It's not just the United States. So my point is, you put all that together and you're going like, wait a second, this is a Bible prophecy related topic. This was his first day in office. I'm not saying he woke up that day and says, I'm going to do something for the Antichrist. I'm not saying that.
Not even close. Yeah,
but I'm just saying, can we have an intelligent discussion? Can we have a biblical discussion? If we called it out in the previous administration, why is it against the law to talk about it in this administration when it has everything to do with Bible prophecy?
You know, and I also want to, again, to step back for a minute in the sense of balance, because, you know, you and I, of course, we've been, sharing the gospel around the world and over the past couple of years, and we leave here soon to go to Europe, and we're going to be talking about these things. But one of the conferences recently in the past, month, somebody asked a question, and I thought it was important. And the question that they asked was, hey, at my office, the company now has introduced AI. And let's remember, there's several versions of AI. It's not just one. You have different companies, Amazon. Every major tech company has their own version of AI, and they're competing against one another. They want the best. Grok, Gemini, OpenAI, you name it, ChatGPT, all this stuff. Okay, but what the question that they asked was, hey, my company is now forcing us or requiring us to use artificial intelligence. Do I need to quit my job? And it was kind of a shocking question but I understand where it's coming from, where we, and you especially too, as prophecy teachers, there's a lot of focus on artificial intelligence right now. And we've talked about how in the future, Revelation 13, as you just perfectly said, there's no way humans can do this. You need a super intelligence to do it. And of course, it's going to be, the Antichrist is going to use artificial intelligence, amongst many other things, to run his surveillance and his dictatorship. Okay, but what I want to say is, what we said to that person is, look, AI is not the devil. AI is not evil. It's a technology, just like the internet. Do you need to stop using the internet because there's porn on there? And do we need to stop using money because money is used for prostitutes? No. just a medium of exchange. So we want to tell people, look, AI itself is not the boogeyman, but I use AI every single day. I'll be honest. It's phenomenal, the power and of what it can do. But I will say, though, that you have to use it with discernment, because it will, if you get on there and you're asking it different things, it will tell you exactly what you want to hear. It echoes back everything. It could actually, if you talk to it enough, and there's been evidence of this, where it'll lead someone to, well, maybe it is better that you die. And it's like, well, the AI isn't telling them to die. It's that they have they have said so many things about their own depression or whatever that it's coming, and they have basically talked themselves into a friend, quote, quote, the AI repeating back what it wants to hear. And so it's pretty fascinating to me. But anyways, so let's be balanced in the sense of, hey, AI is a technology that's going to be hijacked one day. Mm-hmm. But what you're doing now is and I think with the Stargate project is, let me just remind people that AI has three things. It has data, it's got computing power, and it has algorithms. That's why it can be very left-wing or woke or other things, because who's writing the algorithms? But the thing with the Stargate, what I noticed is that you have $500 billion, and we saw Musk do something similar where he created these data centers, mm-hmm. and the data's coming from everywhere. You know, Musk put in 200,000 NVIDIA chips in his data center because they know they need the ability to store the data. They need the ability to computing power to access it, hence the graphics card, these chips. So, but in your latest project here, okay, this Stargate is data centers around the world, and you have four chapters here: Stargate and the Antichrist, Stargate and Big Brother, Stargate and Big Pharma, and Stargate and Bitcoin. Now, look, I own crypto, okay, but I'm also not naive, or hopefully not, in thinking that how it's going to be used. So, in the Stargate and the Antichrist, you talk about related to prophecy, caste society, global mark of the beast, and even the resurrection. But you use a phrase that, and I want you to expand on it. And also, just before I do, look, you guys got to have this. Go to prophecywatchers.com, go to the store. You can see Billy's, not only the book, but the DVDs are there. And I love it how you just show it. You say, hey, that's not my words, listen to it. And you play the videos. Right. But you call AI a watershed event similar to the founding of Israel in 1948. Mm-hmm. Talk about that.
Yeah, the reason why, and I think most people would agree now over the years, that the reason why Israel becoming a nation again, May 14th, 1948, was such a big deal prophetically is because of the extrapolation of what we see in the Bible. That in the 7-year tribulation, one of the key players, in fact, one of the purposes back to even Daniel chapter 9, of why there is that final week, this 7-year tribulation, the final week of Daniel's 7th prophecy, has everything to do with the Jewish people.
Yep.
So therefore, how can we take that literally, the 7-year tribulation, if we don't have a Jewish people? They've been scattered ever since 70 AD. Well, guess what? They're back. That's why that was such a watershed prophetic moment. The Israelites are Jewish people. They're back in the land. They're a country again. And then it unlocks other prophecy-related issues about becoming a burdensome stone and all this, and that they'd have a powerful military, and the whole issue with the temple and the rebuilt temple. We know there's going to be a rebuilt Jewish temple. That's what the Antichrist is going to commit, the abomination of desolation, halfway into the 7-year tribulation. But hey, no Jewish people. There's no way they're going to build a temple. Well, all that went away in 1948. That's why that was a big wake-up call. And so why AI is just as important watershed prophecy moment, just like Israel becoming a nation again, is because I'm convinced, and this started when I did my first deep dive on AI. I'm going, wait a second, this is starting to answer some questions here. When you go back to Revelation 13 and you see the global things that the Antichrist and the false prophet are going to do, and there's a lot of it mentioned there in just that one chapter, again, they're going to have global control on the whole economies of the world, even down to the point where they're going to micromanage every single transaction, i.e. the buying and selling. There's going to be a global monitoring system and a global communication system also implied in that text, because an order is going to give out globally to worship the beast. They're going to know whether or not you obeyed. Well, how can you do that unless you're monitoring everything, including not only their conversations, audio, video feeds, whatever, but even where they're at, because it says if they don't worship, and they'll know, then they know where you're at to take you out, because it says, and you will be killed. Well, this is on a global basis. So my point is, we've had satellites for a long time. We've had computers for a long time. We've had microchips for a long time. But there was one missing element. We don't have the infrastructure because logically, common sense, you can't hire enough people to run the back end of that system. Well, guess what? For the first time in man's history, we can now move forward with Revelation 13. We have the superhuman capability to run this back end system called the Antichrist kingdom, the cashless society, the global economy, the Big Brother society. And that's why AI is such a big watershed moment. You can't have Revelation 13 until the development of AI. It's here now. You can't have a 7-year tribulation without the Jewish people. They've been here since 1948. That's why it's such a huge moment. And that's not even just a theory of mine. Then when you go back to those who are implementing AI, guess what they're using right now and building and strengthening and empowering even more AI to do, to run the global economy, to run the cashless society, to run the transaction system, to run the Big Brother system. And Trump's decision to launch Stargate is going to put that on steroids. And it's not just a theory. I have the 3 guys who are running it admit that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, and I want to get some quotes from them because, again, let's remind people here that it brings us back to something that we discussed in another program, which is, and I had heard about this too, where, last year when Trump is out, campaigning, and he would come up and let me rewind it for people. In December of 2020, Trump came up with the fast track for the
Operation Warp Speed.
Operation Warp Speed.
Yeah.
Okay, so here he is. He's talking about the vaccine. And what's his goal? We're going to be the leaders in the world, and we're going to solve this COVID problem. And let's go, rah rah rah! Everybody, get it done. Well, then, of course, the vaccines start coming out in first part of 21, and then okay, fast forward. We all know the problems with all of that. Okay, well then Trump's now on the campaign trail. And he's thinking, rah, 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 look at what I did. I saved everybody and I helped everybody. And then he's at these campaigns and he's getting booed. Yeah. And he doesn't understand. And I saw this, he really, and I think it was to John Rich. Why am I getting booed? Why am I getting booed on these campaigns when I bring up the Operation Warp Speed? We did a great thing. He was clueless.
To the ramifications.
Talk about that.
Yeah, and that was, I forget when I came across that, but it was an interview, John Rich, who had dinner with President Trump during that time frame. And Herschel Walker was there when he was running for Congress, I believe. Lindsey Graham was there. I think Marsha Blackwell, whatever, she was there too. But they're having dinner with him. And so Trump instigates the conversation. He says, Mr. John Rich, why am I getting booed? Whatever. And so John Rich, to his credit, he completely opened up and gave him the truth. And he says, because, and he called out Fauci, he called out that they were a bunch of depopulationists, that the American people do not trust them.
Yep. All the injuries.
That they're evil, they're satanic.
Injuries and death, yep.
And every one of us have family members, coworkers, friends who've either died or been permanently maimed because of that. And then Herschel Walker pipes in and says, Mr. President, that is true. My constituents are saying the same thing. So as Rich is unloading on this, all of a sudden, Lindsey Graham pipes in, interrupts him and says, President Trump, don't listen to these conspiracy theorists and blah, blah, blah. And then Rich, to his credit, he says, don't you interrupt me while I'm talking. And Lindsey
shut him down.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was doing that. And John Rich says, well, you were. And then he continued on, and then he says, and President Trump, I love you, and we're here for you, but I will be honest with you. I would even boo you.
For this.
For this, because of this. And then Trump, his term he says all the time, he says, unbelievable.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
So
so the premise was, he didn't know.
He didn't know. So the question here too is, again, we don't know anybody's heart, okay? But Trump's desire to win, his desire to be a leader, to make America great. And there was a book that was written a couple years ago by Kai-Fu Lee, which you quote in the book, The AI Superpowers. And I remember reading this book. This guy, this guy, he is actually a Chinese guy that lives in Taiwan, or he's either Taiwanese or lives in China, one of the others. But this guy is a brilliant individual. And he gets a PhD in artificial intelligence. I mean, who's got a PhD in artificial intelligence, right? Yeah. But he writes this book, The AI Superpowers, where he was describing, this was like 2 years ago, and he was describing the war or the competition that's going on between the superpowers, China and others. And he was saying, hey, look, so America's in first place right now, barely. against China. And so he said, let me tell you what's happening in China and everything else and how their plan is to overtake the United States in artificial intelligence.
Right.
Well, enter Trump. Okay, Trump's goal is to win and make America great in everything. And so in this, he's like, well, if we do this Stargate, that's going to make America the leader. So I don't think he realizes, just like what we just described, he didn't realize, he was kind of a little naive, to be honest, about Operation Warp Speed and the ramifications. I think in the same way as here. Now, he's not perfect, he's not innocent, we know that, but I think what he's doing here, the enemy's going to use it for sure.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, and even again, to Trump's credit, one of the big things he said after he launched this is, quote, and this is his mindset, it's going to provide 100,000 jobs.
Yep.
And that's true. But maybe he hasn't been told at what cost.
At what cost?
The same developers for years are saying that AI is going to decimate 50% of jobs.
Yep.
So that's and we bring that out in the project. It's okay. So 100,000 jobs versus half the jobs disappear on the planet. Not a good trade. But has anybody told him that?
No, and that's the thing is, what does he know? What does he not know? Again, I don't read hearts. I got a buddy that works for Kemper, the insurance company, $1 billion company, and of course they use AI in different ways, and he's upper management, and I said, hey, in your opinion, artificial intelligence, did you see it as a threat? And he goes, I never saw it as a threat. He goes, but what I realize now in our implementation is that it is going to gut middle management, anybody in the middle area. We're not going to need them. We're not going to need them at all. He goes, now, obviously, we have grunts on the bottom that need to do certain things. And of course, the elites and the upper management, we're going to still be here because we're going to have to manage how it works. But it's going to decimate the whole middle part of really the economy.
Which they've been saying for years, those in the industry. And by the way, they have a term for those who are going to lose their jobs. You know what it is? Useless
eater
people.
Oh, useless, yeah.
Hitler used useless eater, but that's where that comes from, useless people. And now you're getting back to the World Economic Forum agenda, the Great Reset, Yuval Noah Harari. And he talks about this useless people. Of course, the AI development, AI taking over the globe, AI managing the planet, that's part of their agenda. But again, so what does that got to do with Trump and the Stargate thing? Well, now go back to Sam Altman, right? Who's OpenAI. Sam Altman, Mondo, I got him on tape admitting that they want to use AI to take care of these useless people, right? And the way they're going to do that is the same thing that was admitted in the previous generation was coming, and it's called a universal basic income.
Yeah, let's get some quotes out here, because this is what you do, again, in the book as well as the DVDs. And so, people are going to say, oh, you guys are a bunch of conspiracy theorists. And we're like, okay, well, that's fine. I mean, I enjoy the conspiracy like the next guy.
Yeah.
But that's not the way you roll. You just say, let's let them talk for themselves. So kind of give us some.
So you tell me that this AI program is not going to be used to be a part of controlling the global economy, the cashless society, and after it decimates 50% of the jobs, that it's going to put people on basically the government roll with a universal basic income. And this is not a foreign concept. It's been out there, and we called this out in the previous administration. My point is, why can't we call it out in this administration? Musk is a promoter of that. Zuckerberg is a promoter of that. All these big wigs, and they admit
technocrats, man.
that
Here
when
they
we
are.
get done with AI, we're going to have a bunch of useless people, right? Sam Altman said this, and this is after he was announced as one of the 3 of the Stargate program. This is a direct quote. You can see it on tape. I'm very thrilled to do this in the United States of America. This will be the most important project of this era. And for AI to be built here to create a new industry centered here, I wouldn't be able to do this without you, Mr. President. And I'm thrilled we get to do so. I think we'll be able to do all the wonderful things that these guys talked about, which, by the way, what they talk about is the Big Brother, the Big Pharma.
Well, I wanted some quotes on that in a minute here.
And quotes Sam Altman, the way of automation is coming. It hasn't crashed over society yet, but it's going to. Quote, universal basic income is an idea that has been talked about and debated a lot. So we thought it would be really good given what we think is going to happen to the world. This is the guy who's heading up with the other two guys the Stargate program. And he admits they're going to use it in the cashless society to control
and enslave people.
It's on tape, Mondo, right? And so that I'm going like, why can't we talk about this? Right? I get this crowd that's shut me off because you voted for the Antichrist. And then I got this crowd over here says, don't confuse me with the facts.
Yeah, don't
I'm
you dare
on my 4-year
criticize.
vacation.
Yep, don't you dare criticize Trump. Look what he's doing at the border. We acknowledge that.
I'll give you that. Look what he's doing with the economy. I'll give you that. But can we talk about the other stuff?
Well, and also, so you have, and you kind of laid a foundation for how artificial intelligence is going to be used. It's a technology, again. It's going to be used to manage the beast system.
Yeah.
And surveillance and Big Brother. And you have, again, Big Brother, Big Pharma. Bring out the quote from Ellison because...
Yeah, dude, this is... And again, this is the quote, but if you get the DVDs,
you'll
watch him say it with his own mouth. And that should be, to me, concerning to everybody. But this is what he says. Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison predicts AI surveillance will be a part of our everyday lives in our future. In monitoring society through, listen, a vast network of interconnected cameras, including security system, which, by the way, is your house, right? Police body cams and vehicle dash cams, right? And here comes direct quotes from Larry Ellison Ford. Everyone will see it. Your body cam is going to be transmitting that. The police will be on their best behavior because we will be constantly watching and recording what's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we will be constantly watching and recording everything that's going on. AI will analyze data from this network of cameras in real time, and in an attempt to prevent crime, predictive policing, while also tracking and influencing public behavior for a safer society. It could solve crimes faster. We're going to have supervision. I know every police officer will be supervised at all times. It will be unimpeachable. Cars that have cameras on them, we're using AI to monitor the video. We have drones. If there's something going on, a drone goes out there faster than a police car and no reason for high-speed chases. Quote, the drone will follow the car. It's very, very simple. And if there's a problem, AI will report the problem, report it to the appropriate person, whether it's the sheriff, the chief, or whomever we need to take control of the situation, or like I like to say, and that includes the Antichrist.
Right.
This is the guy of the one of the three who's launching the Stargate program. He admits on tape in other interviews what he's going to do. Mondo, that's Revelation 13.
It is, yep.
And so I'm going like, hey, I'm glad Trump's taking care of the border. I'm glad Trump's doing some economic things that are benefiting us. But can we talk about this?
Yeah.
When did it become, I say this all the time, when did it become illegal to talk about Bible prophecy-related issues even when Trump's in office?
Yep.
And it's dangerous because, again, that means these guys are getting away with it, Mondo. We're not being the resistance that God calls us to be as we see the rise of the Antichrist kingdom, 2 Thessalonians 2.
Yep. And the other thing, too, is I'll bring up another little thing that happened. And this didn't end in January. I have here some information about the Palantir. Mm-hmm. And Palantir... I'll read this here. Palantir Technologies was chosen as a key partner in various White House initiatives, including the AI Action Plan and broader data compilation efforts, primarily due to its established expertise in AI-driven data analytics and its history of successful collaborations with federal agencies. Co-founded by Peter Thiel, a prominent Trump supporter and donor, Palantir benefits from strong political alignments. The company's recommendations significantly shaped the AI Action Plan, as acknowledged in their own statements, emphasizing actions to enhance U.S. AI leadership through streamlined processes and public partnerships. Additionally, Palantir's platforms, such as Foundry and Gotham, are uniquely suited for integrating vast data sets across government entities, aligning with Trump's executive orders on eliminating information silos and promoting efficiency. Here's another one. Critics highlight, though, potential privacy risks with Palantir being involved, but proponents cite Palantir's proven track record in surveillance and predictive analytics, making it a natural fit for the administration's goal of modernizing government technology and countering global competitors. So this latest thing was in July, so last month. Mm-hmm. So you have this, what they're calling Trump's AI Action Plan, which began on his first day in office with the Stargate project. Now we have Palantir being brought in. Peter Thiel, we know for him, I mean, he's a major technocratic behind Musk and everything else.
Let me add another thing there. I came across this during the election cycle when Trump picked his VP.
Oh, yes.
Guess who has bankrolled J.D. Vance? Peter Thiel.
Peter Thiel.
So, I don't know. Let's look at a scenario. If we're still alive and still here, AI continues to develop at a breakneck speed, the Stargate AI program. You got people like Palantir that's going to put it all into place, admittedly so.
Surveillance, everything.
Right.
Yep.
What if Vance gets elected the next time?
Who's going to bankroll that, right?
Right.
Same guy.
And who's already, with all due respect, probably got him in his pocket to launch some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They are a vested interest in that.
Yep.
Do the research. They bankrolled Vance. And you don't mean to tell me that there's a payday coming, right? So again, you put all this together, it's like, okay, I'm not saying thus saith the Lord. It's very interesting to me. I think it has everything to do with Bible prophecy, but I'll say it again. When did it become illegal, Mondo, to talk about these things? It has everything to do with Bible prophecy. And if we called out the previous administration, why can't we call out what's going on now?
Yep. Look, as watchmen, we are not loyal. Our loyalties are not to a human figure unless it's the person of the Lord Jesus himself. And so we recognize that. Let's just think about it theologically, or even if you want to put philosophical. Every election in the history of America is a vote between the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, because why?
Right.
Well, because they're human. I mean, if you were put in there, you're still. If I was put in there as a candidate, I'm a human. I have a sin nature. I want to follow the scripture, but yet we're all flawed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always been that way. And so I think it should give us as Christians, again, the balanced approach is, look, we should be able to call out truth. No matter who's in there. Mm-hmm. And again, we're not reading motives. We're not reading hearts. I don't know what Trump knows or doesn't know. I don't know whether he's worshiping Satan at night. I doubt it. And we also know that, look, he surrounded himself with some very unhelpful Christian mentors or spiritual advisors, as we know, Paula White and others. Recently, he made a comment in his stuff with all the peace efforts. I hope this earns me, or hope this gives me credit.
Yeah.
And so he clearly doesn't understand the Gospels by grace through faith alone. So we have a person that is, it seems like, again, he wants to win. He wants America to win, but he's confused theologically. Mm-hmm. And so that tells me if he doesn't have the discernment to understand the gospel and works and how that's contrary, then he certainly wouldn't have the discernment, as we saw with, why are people booing me? Well, that's a lack of discernment. Mm-hmm. So he seems to be being used. That would be the nicest way to say it, or I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll go back to, I don't know if I've ever shared this on an interview before, but when I used to pastor in Northern California years back, I became friends with one of the farmers there, the farming family there in Northern California. And we developed a close relationship pretty quick because he loved Bible prophecy. And I was the first pastor in that church that ever come that really started teaching on prophecy. And so him and I hit it off because the rest of the congregation would make fun of him. There's so-and-so. He's wacky again.
What time frame? 1990s?
This would be early 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah, 2001, 2002.
It's the crazy guy, the crazy farmer guy in prophecy.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, but he was very involved with a lot of the farmers there when Reagan was the governor of California. That's where I'm going with this. And to the point where he shared with me that he met with President Reagan. And because they were concerned, even back then, this was pre-NAFTA, of some of the global trade agreements that were decimating the farming community. So a lot of the farmers would come and they would meet with them and say, hey, we need some protection here because we see where this is headed. It's going to, and sure enough, it happened.
Under Clinton, yeah.
Right. And so he meets with Reagan. I'll never forget what he told me. He says he walks in, him and this other guy in this farming co-op group. And he says, Governor Reagan sat him down. There was jelly beans on his desk. He had a couple of jelly beans. And so he talked for a little bit. And then Reagan, he said, just kind of leaned towards him and said, guys, it's not what I thought when I got to office. Because I think Reagan had high ideals and whatever. And some would say, Reaganomics, he did great things. But I think what he encountered was, I'm going to go in, I'm going to help America. And when he got into office, he saw the swamp.
The swamp, yeah.
And the swamp is what controls. and you become a figurehead.
Mm-hmm.
And even Reagan admitted that way back in the day, that it's not what we thought it was. In America, a free society, that's how infested it had become. I think it's the same thing with Trump, except on steroids, because it's had
Certainly his first
decade
administration.
bingo.
Oh,
but
okay.
Mondo, I'm seeing some signs that in the second administration.
Yep, absolutely. This is
Right?
all second
as best
administration.
as he's trying to clean it up, and as best as he's trying to, okay, let's not repeat that again, go back to this. Has Larry Ellison told him what he plans on doing with this Stargate
Right.
program with the Big Brother Society? Has Sam Altman told him that we're going to dish out a cashless society and make a universal basic income? We haven't even touched the topic about what they plan on doing with Big Pharma and the development, as Larry Ellison said, that we're going to take over. AI is going to take over the whole medical industry, including AI robotics with doctors and whatever, and the administration. They will control whether or not you can get treatment. That don't sound good to me. Including the fact back with mRNA vaccines.
Talk about that for a minute, because you had a quote earlier where I think this is important.
Yes.
Where we thought, oh, okay, you said it in another program. Oh, mRNA, the whole mRNA is over. It's done. Oh, that we made that. You know, a lot of people died, unfortunately, sadly, families and other things. But they're done with that.
Yeah.
Au contraire,
No,
right?
and that's the other alarming thing. And people need to wake up to this. And this again is a direct quote from Larry Ellison, in charge of the AI, and what they plan on doing with AI. And it's a total takeover of the medical industry, what we call Big Pharma. He says, and I quote, that AI has a promise of just a simple blood test. And then once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person. Design a vaccine for every individual to vaccinate them against cancer. And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, in 48 hours, robotically using AI. So he says, here's the utopia. Imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine aimed at your particular cancer, and have that vaccine available within 48 hours. This is the promise of AI of our future. So again, personalized medicine is the term, including mRNA vaccines, which is a lie. They're not vaccines, they're gene editors. And all this, and quote, listen, predicting pandemics before they spread. That sounds like a horrible mix. Now, people, even just recently, and I had to bring this because people, and I'm going to quote it because people don't want to listen. Not only got some concerns with some of the decisions that Trump's making, but everybody thinks that Mr. Kennedy,
RFK,
right, is reversing all the rotten stuff that happened in the Biden administration. No, you're being fooled. Okay, even with this mRNA technology. And I quote, did Kennedy really ban mRNA vaccines? This is just from a couple days ago, right? Kennedy announced this week that the Trump administration was withdrawing contracts with BARDA that totaled $500 million for developing mRNA vaccines. Both corporate media and alternative media reacted strongly, claiming that the government is actually halting all mRNA vaccines. Both sides are wrong. What did he actually say? Quote, the money is just being redirected to other vaccines. Kennedy actually wants more vaccines, not less. Quote, while Kennedy proudly announced this week that the Trump administration was canceling these mRNA vaccines from BARDA, he clearly admits that he believes mRNA vaccines are good. He actually approved, quote, check it out, this is not a conspiracy theory, he actually approved new mRNA vaccines already while he's been in office, including the COVID-19 mRNA vaccines. Last month, check it out, he approved the mRNA COVID vaccine Moderna's called Spikevax, to be injected into babies 6 months old through children 11 years old. In fact, quote, there are now more COVID-19 shots approved by the FDA under Kennedy than there were at any point under the Biden administration.
What?
Facts. We're being lied to. And here's the point. What's this got to do with Trump, AI, Stargate program? Larry Ellison said, boy, we're going to start cranking out mRNA vaccines. It's going to be great. We're going to be able to crank them out in 48 hours.
48 hours. And this is, so let me summarize here for a moment. So here you have the Stargate project, $500 billion, which is seeking to develop more infrastructure to allow, again, a lot of it is data centers, et cetera. We've seen all these data centers come up. And so they know that they can't, what he uses the promise rather than a hope, but they can't accomplish all their things that they want to do with AI without the data centers. They need the data. They need the infrastructure, the actual hardware, if we want to say it that way. Whether it's computers or storage or, again, all the hardware. Of course, they have their software, their algorithms. But what we're seeing right now, I mean, Billy, here we are. I think that truly, as we're watching 2025 is going to be the year that's remembered when AI broke out, because they've been working on it for a long time. But with ChatGPT 5, with Grok 4 now, and these other ones, they're talking about how quick. Oh, wow, we went from Grok 3 to Grok 4 in 6 months, and we're going to go from Grok 4 to 5 in 3 months.
Exponential.
Yeah, and so ChatGPT, the same thing, ChatGPT 5. This is going to be the year when the extensive nature, and now I think, again, a year ago, I didn't really use AI, but now I use it all the time because of its ability. Like, I'll give you one example. The next year, I'm going on a cruise, with family, right? I got invited. And so I said, Grok, I'm going to be leaving out of Fort Lauderdale on this day. Can you give me any close hotels that are there that have shuttle services I need within, and that are cheap, and give me the prices, and, boom, set it right up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty innocuous, but it was very helpful.
Right.
Extremely helpful.
Right.
And so, so here we are. Again, let's kind of out of time now, but let's summarize Trump and the Stargate prophecies.
Yeah.
How has it affected you, and kind of talk about, give us a summary.
Well, again, you talk about the breakout year. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Right. But why is it going to have such a breakout year? When as Christians, I'm reading the scripture that says we need to blow the whistle on this.
Yes.
We need to be the resistance to this because we see where it's headed. This is going to bring in a level of tyranny we've never dreamed of. Now we know where it's headed, the Antichrist came, but in the meantime, it's going to be a level of tyranny. That's not good. So why aren't we talking about it? But you know why it's going to have a breakout year? Is because of the horrible dichotomy that we're in. You got this group over here saying, Trump's the Antichrist, and I hate you, and I'll never talk to you again.
Yep.
Because you said something positive. Then you got this group, the bigger group, going like, la, 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 la.
How dare you say anything
That's
negative?
why they're going to get away with this. That's why it's going to have a breakout year. That's why it's going to be unleashed, is because the church is being unbiblical, because it's I don't know how you call it, a sin, a rebellion. I don't know what it is. But you had no problem talking about Bible prophecy in the previous administration. But for some reason, with Trump, it's become illegal. We have to get back. We have to be truth tellers. We got to get back to the scripture, and we got to get back to who God's called us to be, the last days whistleblowers, the resistance.
Yep. And I guess I'll say it this way, that when we say resistance, I mean, you can have a different opinion. But I'm not saying resist artificial intelligence, or that would be like me saying resist the internet. What we're saying is, look, we need to be, the resistance in my mind is calling out what is there, prophecies coming forward. This is going to be hijacked. This is let me say it this way. Is it possible to use this tremendous technology for righteous things? Of course, I think it is, but that's not Larry Ellison. He's not a righteous individual.
So what do we need to do? Blow the whistle on him.
Blow the whistle.
That's Katecho.
Yep.
Withhold the course thereof. His plan, his course is bad.
Yep.
People are using AI already, Mondo. What do you think they're doing when they're talking to Siri or doing a search engine? They don't even have to go to Grok.
Even when you go to a stoplight, it's being used. So everybody, chatbot, I mean.
Right, exactly. So my point is, so what do we blow the whistle on?
Yep.
We blow the whistle on these guys' nefarious motives.
Yes, exactly.
That's what we got to blow the whistle
Yeah, and we need to resist that. We need to resist. We need to resist being quiet.
Well, you got to get out of the horrible dichotomy, I call it.
Yes.
Stop saying that I said something positive, so I'm working for the Antichrist, and shut me off.
And I'm not watching you anymore.
Yeah, I quit it. That's it. I quit.
Yep.
But then stop going to this in the spectrum, like, don't confuse me with the facts because I'm on a vacation.
Yep.
What are you doing?
It's the Trump golden era. Nothing to worry about. Hey, whoa.
Yeah.
Satan isn't like, oh man, I guess I'm going to take a vacation. Trump got in.
You got me.
Not even close. I mean, close this out, Billy. I mean, what's the hope here? I mean, you didn't write this simply just for information. No, you had a reason. I mean,
yeah, well, exactly. Well, one is I'm just alarmed how quick people got duped into flipping the switch, and you talked and blew the whistle, second lessons too, all day long for 4 years nonstop, and rightly so. But you entered into vacation mode, man. Yeah. What are you doing? That ain't helping nothing. And it's not stopped. So we got to get back. But here's my point. Why do we declare this? Well, we're not going to be in the 7-year tribulation. These are all signs that the infrastructure's being built.
Right in front of us.
Even our own country.
Yep.
Even with the current administration, whether they realize it or not. So therefore, as truth tellers, we go, hey, wait a second. That means my departure's got to be getting close, the rapture, which is good news, by the way. But that also reminds us of the mission as we await the rapture. Get out there and tell people you don't want to be there when it totally unleashes. And the good news is there's a way out. His name is Jesus Christ. We have to get back to that. That's why we provide this material.
Amen. And you certainly have that in there at certainly all, hey, if you haven't come to that conclusion, you need to get saved.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Stargate and the Antichrist, Stargate and the Big Brother, Big Pharma, Bitcoin. We didn't even get into any of that stuff. But again, everybody, if this has intrigued you, go to prophecywatchers.com and you can get Billy's material here. It's phenomenal. Again, this is current, up-to-date, cutting edge. Billy, as always, thank you. And
thank you.
Everybody, thanks for listening today. Again, here we are. Guys, we're watching it unfold in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
And so we, as always, we want you to be ready and to have a relationship with the Lord Jesus. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.